They're staring, all of them. Everywhere you go now, heads turn, eyes widen, jaws drop. Is that really the same person? They whisper, unable to reconcile your present with your past. Your transformation has left them completely stunned. The dramatic change wasn't just physical. It was a complete metamorphosis of your entire being. The way you carry yourself, the confidence in your voice, the determination in your eyes. You're unrecognizable from who you were before, and it's causing a sensation. Social media is ablaze. Old acquaintances are reaching out. Everyone wants to know your secret. They're watching your every move, studying, analyzing, hoping to capture even a fraction of the magic you've created. Some are inspired, others are envious, but all of them can't believe their eyes when they see what you've become. Your journey has turned you into something they never thought possible, a living testament to the power of transformation. There was a time when you felt invisible, not because you lacked worth, but because the world refused to see you. It was as if you were wrapped in a heavy, suffocating cocoon, isolated, misunderstood, and out of place. No matter where you went, you felt like a stranger, even in rooms filled with familiar faces. You spoke, but your words barely echoed beyond your lips. You existed, but you weren't seen. The weight of loneliness pressed against your chest, a silent reminder that you were different, and in a world that punishes difference, you learned to shrink. You spent years trapped in the shadows, second-guessing yourself at every turn. Maybe it was the way you were conditioned, taught to be small, to be agreeable, to never take up too much space. Maybe it was the silent but persistent belief that you weren't enough, a belief that took root long before you could even question it. You watched others move through life effortlessly while you battled an invisible war within. You became hyper-aware of the judgments, the sideways glances, the dismissive tones in conversations. And with time, you started to believe what they projected onto you, that you weren't worthy of being heard, seen, or celebrated. But it wasn't just the outside world that caged you. It was the prison of your own mind. The whispers of self-doubt grew louder with each passing day, telling you that maybe they were right. Maybe you weren't special. Maybe you were destined to be overlooked. You absorbed the negativity around you like a sponge, carrying burdens that were never meant to be yours. As an empath, you felt everything too deeply. Every sigh of disappointment, every unspoken criticism, every unacknowledged effort. And rather than rejecting it, you internalized it. You let it define you. For years, you wore a mask. You forced yourself to fit into spaces that never felt right, just to avoid being the outcast. You dulled your shine to make others comfortable. You made yourself smaller, quieter, easier to digest. But no matter how much you tried, you could never fully belong. There was always a disconnect, a lingering emptiness that couldn't be ignored. Deep down, you knew there was more to you than what the world allowed you to be. You knew you weren't meant to live in the background, but you just didn't know how to step forward. This was the cocoon, dark, suffocating, and relentless. It convinced you that isolation was your fate. It whispered that no one would ever understand you, but in reality, the cocoon was never a prison. It was preparation, a silent incubation for something greater. Because what the world failed to see was that something was growing inside of you, a spark, a power, a force waiting to be unleashed. There comes a moment when the weight becomes unbearable, when the voices of doubt, the whispers of inadequacy, and the shadows of the past push you so far down that you finally see the truth. This was never your burden to carry. The insecurities that haunted you were never truly yours. They were planted there, carefully and deliberately, by those who feared your potential. The people who told you to dim your light weren't trying to protect you. They were trying to keep you small. You start to see it clearly, the way they subtly chipped away at your confidence, masked as concern or advice. The way they made you second-guess your instincts, ensuring you always looked to them for approval. The way they twisted your reality, convincing you that you were too much, too sensitive, too ambitious. It was never about you. It was always about them, their own fears, their own failures, their own limitations projected onto you. At first, you resisted this realization. It's easier to believe that you were simply unlucky, that life just wasn't in your favor. But the deeper you looked, the more patterns emerged. The backhanded compliments, the sudden coldness when you succeeded, the guilt-tripping when you tried to prioritize yourself. Every moment of self-doubt was carefully orchestrated to keep you in place. And you played along for so long, believing that if you just tried harder, if you just proved yourself, they would finally see your worth. But then, something snaps. The breaking point isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet, shattering moment of clarity. A moment when you look at yourself and realize that you don't even recognize who you've become. You see the exhaustion in your eyes, the hesitation in your stance, the dimming of a fire that was never meant to go out. You realize you've spent your life living for others, pleasing, shrinking, sacrificing, while they reaped the benefits of your silence. And that's when you make the decision. Enough. Enough of the gaslighting. Enough of the manipulation. Enough of giving your power away. You refuse to let them control your narrative any longer. You begin to unravel the false beliefs they wove into your identity. You challenge every thought that tells you you're not enough. You cut the strings that tethered you to their expectations. And with every step forward, you reclaim yourself. Look, you already know the game is rigged, and if you're paying attention, you know the walls are closing in. So let's talk about what we're doing about it. When you live by the day at the market's command, where profit and property rule, the land to be heard, to be held, to be dealt a fair hand, these are the things that a people demand, and we hear you. The Obsidian Inner Order has paywalls, yes. Those who stand with us, who fuel this mission, they give us ammunition to fight. The Archons, to push back against the machine, to go deeper, to uncover more. And as our thank you, paid members get access to a 1-hour live, personalized weekly group tarot reading. Guidance, insight, and clarity for the road ahead. But kicking a man for being down on the floor? That's something we cannot ignore. That's why starting today, you can steal the Astral Atom exclusive daily newsletter for free. No paywall, no catch. Just join the Patreon free tier, link in the description. This is the start of our conversation with you, and it's bi-directional. You can reply to any email we send you. We'll read it, we'll hear you, and we'll do our best to get an answer to you from the universe itself. If you can support, we need you. If you can't, take what's free. The Obsidian Inner Order is open. Now, let's get back to work. It's terrifying at first. When you've spent years living in the shadows, stepping into the light feels unnatural, almost painful. The voices of doubt still linger, trying to pull you back. But you keep moving, you keep choosing yourself, and then something incredible happens. The fear that once paralyzed you starts to fade. The power that you were convinced you never had, it was there all along. It was just waiting for you to take it back. This is the beginning of something unstoppable. The moment you stop living as a version of yourself dictated by others and step into the truth of who you really are. The breaking point isn't the end. It's the moment the real transformation begins. When the fire of transformation ignites, there is no turning back. The old version of you, the one who walked cautiously, who hesitated, who lived in the shadows of other people's expectations, ceases to exist. What rises in its place is something unbreakable, something untamed. The world wanted you to remain confined in their carefully crafted box, but you have burned that box to ashes. Now you emerge, reborn. At first, the change feels foreign. You're standing taller, speaking with certainty, moving with purpose. The hesitation that once lived in your voice is gone. The doubt that used to cloud your thoughts has been silenced. You are no longer waiting for permission to be great. You are claiming it, and it feels right. This isn't an act. This isn't a mask. This is who you were meant to be all along. You begin to realize just how much of your past was built on illusions. The fear of being seen. It was never your own. It was something imposed upon you. The need for external validation, a trap designed to keep you dependent. The negative self-talk, words planted in your mind by those who never wanted you to rise. And the moment you let go of it all, something shifts. You stop apologizing for your presence. You stop minimizing your brilliance to make others comfortable. You stop living for their approval and start living for yourself. And the world feels it. There is a power in you now that can't be ignored. The same people who once dismissed you are now caught off guard by your transformation. They don't recognize you, not because your face has changed, but because your energy has. You are radiating something different now. A confidence so firm that it shakes the very foundation of those who doubted you. An aura so undeniable that it demands attention. You are no longer controlled by fear. You have become the force that others fear. And it's not because you are cruel. It's not because you seek revenge. It's because you will not be stopped. There is something poetic about rising from the ashes of a life that once felt unbearable, about taking every ounce of pain, every scar, every ounce of self-doubt, and forging it into armor. You are not the same person who once begged to be noticed, who longed for validation, who feared rejection. You have burned away every last remnant of that past self, and what remains is something indestructible. And now, the world has no choice but to witness your rise. The moment you step into your power, the ripple effect is undeniable. The world that once overlooked you now stops in its tracks. People who once dismissed you do double takes, their eyes flickering with confusion and disbelief. Is that really you? They can't wrap their minds around the transformation. The version of you they once knew, the timid, hesitant, uncertain one, is gone. And what stands before them now is something they never expected. The whispers start first. Old acquaintances, former colleagues, even people who barely acknowledged you before. Suddenly they're talking. Some are fascinated, drawn in by the sheer magnitude of your evolution. Others are unsettled, scrambling to make sense of what changed. They watch you, studying your every move, searching for answers, but they won't find them. Because this change, it didn't come from external validation, from a lucky break, or from anyone else's approval. It came from within. The ones who once underestimated you now feel the weight of their mistake. The ones who ignored you suddenly want to be in your presence. And the ones who doubted you, now they can't take their eyes off you. They're left wondering how they never saw your potential before, how they failed to recognize the fire that was always burning beneath the surface. But their oversight is not your concern. Some will be inspired. They will see your transformation as proof that change is possible, that evolution is inevitable, that greatness can be claimed. They will look at you and realize that they too can shed their old selves and rise. But others, the others will not take it so well. Envy creeps into their veins, their minds race, searching for an explanation, a reason, an excuse to diminish what you've become. They'll whisper about how you must have changed, as if that's an insult. They'll cling to their outdated perceptions of you, desperately trying to convince themselves that this is just a phase. But deep down, they know the truth. You are never going back to who you were, and that terrifies them. Because your transformation forces them to confront their own stagnation. It exposes the lies they've told themselves, the excuses, the comfort zones, the fear that kept them from evolving. They realize that while you were breaking free, they remained trapped, And rather than celebrate your growth, they resent it. But their discomfort is not your burden. Their inability to accept your transformation does not make it any less real. You are no longer seeking permission, no longer waiting for approval. You are the storm, the force, the energy that cannot be ignored. You've shifted from being invisible to undeniable. There was a time when you bent yourself into shapes that weren't yours just to be accepted. You softened your edges, dimmed your light, and played small because you thought that was the price of belonging. But not anymore. That version of you is dead and gone. You have freed yourself from the weight of their expectations, and now you move through the world unapologetically. People will say you've changed. Let them. They will act as if your confidence is an offense, as if your growth is an attack. But you know the truth. It was never about you. They were never truly uncomfortable with you. They were uncomfortable with what your transformation revealed about them. Your light forces them to confront their own fears, their own stagnation, their own inability to evolve. And instead of looking inward, they project that discomfort onto you. But their opinions no longer hold power here. You are done carrying the burden of their insecurities. You will not shrink so that others feel safe. You will not lower your voice so they can speak over you. You will not make yourself less just to be more palatable. You have spent enough time locked in a cage built by their judgments, and now that you've broken free, you will never go back. And with this newfound clarity comes another realization. You no longer need to keep toxic connections alive out of obligation. You recognize the people who only loved you when you were easy to control, the ones who preferred you when you were struggling, the ones who resented you the moment you started winning. And you release them. No explanations, no apologies, just freedom. Some will try to guilt you. You've changed. Yes, you have. You're not the same person anymore. That's the point. You think you're better than us now? No, but you do. That's why it bothers you. You will not slow down for anyone who refuses to grow. You will not dim your fire for those who fear the heat. You are stepping fully into your power now, and if that makes people uncomfortable, that is their battle to fight. You are no longer the caretaker of their emotions. Your light is no longer negotiable. You were never meant to stay small. The world tried to convince you otherwise, tried to keep you tethered to a version of yourself that was easier to control, easier to dismiss. But now you stand in your power, fully aligned with your highest timeline, and there is no turning back. The person they thought you were, that person no longer exists. You have become something far greater than they ever imagined. This isn't just confidence. This isn't just self-love. This is divine alignment. The universe has been waiting for you to step into this moment, to claim the path that was always yours. You no longer seek validation because you know your worth is not up for debate. You no longer doubt your direction because you trust that every step is guided by something far greater than yourself. You have arrived at the place you were always meant to be, and now everything falls into place, effortlessly, and the effect is undeniable. Without even trying, you inspire others. Your presence alone speaks louder than words. People are drawn to you, captivated by the energy you radiate. They want to know what changed, how did you do it? They analyze your every move, hoping to uncover the secret to your transformation. But there is no secret. Only a choice to step fully into yourself, to refuse to be anything less than who you were destined to be. But make no mistake, this power did not come without sacrifice. You had to let go of everything that no longer served you. The toxic relationships, the limiting beliefs, the small-minded perspectives that tried to keep you caged. You burned it all to the ground, and from the ashes you built something unstoppable, and now you walk with purpose. There is a certainty in your every step, a knowing in your every word. The things that once triggered you no longer hold weight. The doubts, that once haunted you have no place in your mind. The distractions that once consumed you no longer deserve your energy. You are focused, locked in, untouchable. This is what it means to step into your divine inheritance. This is what it means to finally become who you were always meant to be. And the world has no choice but to take notice. You are not alone. For so long, you may have felt like the outsider, the black sheep, the one who never fit, the one who saw through the illusions while everyone else stayed asleep. You may have doubted yourself, questioned why you were different, wondered if something was wrong with you. But now you understand. You were never meant to fit into their world. You were meant to rise above it. And now you are not the only one awakening. All around you, others are breaking free from their chains. The chosen ones, those who were always destined to shatter illusions, to challenge the status quo, to step into their divine power, are waking up. You can feel it, can't you? The shift, the energy in the air, the undeniable momentum pulling you forward. Your transformation is not just for you. It is a signal to others, a beacon to those still trapped in the darkness. When they see you rise, they realize that they too have the power to break free. Every time you walk in your truth, you give permission for others to do the same. Every time you refuse to shrink, you inspire someone else to stand tall. You're living proof that the limitations they were taught are nothing but illusions. But understand this, your rise will not go unnoticed. The ones who once doubted you will be forced to watch. The ones who mocked you, dismissed you, underestimated you, they will witness your elevation, powerless to stop it. The same voices that tried to keep you small will now whisper in awe. Some will try to align themselves with you, hoping to bask in your energy. Others will resent you, unable to accept that you refuse to stay at their level. Either way, they will see you. And for the ones still struggling, still bound by fear, still unsure if they have the strength to step into their power, this is your message to them. You are more powerful than you know. Everything you have endured was leading you to this moment. The pain, the rejection, the isolation, it was all preparation. Now is the time to break the chains. Now is the time to claim what was always meant for you. The world is shifting, the illusions are crumbling, and the chosen ones are stepping forward. No more waiting, no more doubting, no more playing small. This is your time. They will watch, they will wonder, they will whisper, and you will rise. There is no going back. The version of you that once hesitated, doubted, and questioned your worth no longer exists. The transformation is complete, and it is permanent. You have stepped fully into your power, and now the world has no choice but to accept it. Let them stare, let them whisper, let them wonder how you did it. Their opinions are irrelevant. You are no longer seeking approval, no longer begging to be understood. You have outgrown their expectations, their limitations, their doubts. This is not a phase. This is not temporary. This is who you are now, and you will only continue to rise. The journey doesn't end here. It is just beginning. More growth, more power, more alignment awaits you. And no matter who watches, no matter who resents it, no matter who struggles to comprehend it, none of it matters. You are free. You are untouchable. You are unstoppable. So let them watch, let them talk. You've already won.